Hello, guys. Ideas are very powerful forces. Ideas literally shaping and directs the trend of our world today. And it seems like many of the good ideas that are prevailing today were once seemingly very, very bad ideas. So today, we want to talk about good ideas that are usually bad ideas. Welcome back, guys. So today I have my wife with me, and I'm usually very excited when I have her set with me doing these things. It's more fun when she's here. So the reason why she's here on this particular episode is because you are a business owner and you have a business that once seemed like a very bad idea.
True.
The whole concept behind this conversation is that the trend of our world has become so vague in a way that it's hard to tell when a person truly has a good idea. Many times, the things that have become great ideas in execution began as very bad ideas in the birthing process. When the idea began, when the idea was birthed,
In theory.
It seemed like a very bad, nasty idea. And we can give a lot of examples. We have Facebook. I mean, think about if Mark Zuckerberg was your younger brother and he comes to you and says, I want to set up, a social media thing, and people will just post their pictures and they will like it. You say, come on, go and read your book. Go and do something good with your life. Imagine if you have Uber come to you and say that I want to begin the biggest transportation company in the world and I don't want to own one taxi. You will say this guy has spiritual problems. You know what I'm saying, right? So we've had a lot of these great ideas begin as really bad ideas. And when you started your business, the Jasmine Harrison brand, at the time, especially within the context of Abuja, it seemed like a very, very bad idea.
Very true.
Because when you began with the mindset to focus on natural hair. And I particularly was concerned.
Very true.
Because you said to me, I don't want to use relaxers in my salon. I don't want to use that. And I'm like, how do you want to run a salon without using relaxers? I mean,
yes,
when I grew
especially
up,
in Abuja.
Yes, when I grew up, relaxers was like the mother of all salons. So when you began Jasmine Harrison brand, it seemed like a bad idea. I had to support you as a good husband, that I think I am. And but I know that when the brand began, I had said to you that we will trust God to pay your first year's salary. When we set up the whole place, it cost a lot of money, of course. But beyond that, we were quite disturbed. Even you were disturbed at some point. And we said, okay, not a problem. We're going to set aside some money to help us pay salaries for 1 year if the business is unable
to fend for itself.
Because we believed in you, but we questioned the idea of the natural hair thing in Abuja. In Lagos at the time, it was doing quite well.
It had
but in Abuja, it seemed like a bad idea. And I know you were also worried because we were beginning big. And you were saying that you wish to have started very, very, small. But now, the bad idea has become a good idea.
A very good
So
idea.
how do we navigate this reality? How do we begin to follow and pursue ideas that in their cradle state appear to be very, very bad ideas, like the Jasmine Harrison? How are you able to stay with it in spite of the fact that it didn't meet the norm?
Well, for me, I think, first of all, it took just one person believing in what I believed in. And that was me. I believed that there was a window that nobody had stuck their head out of yet. everybody in Abuja at the time, or most people in Abuja at the time, were given to, relaxers, or even wig wearing wasn't so fancied at that time. Braids, laid back styles. Why? I think because of also the public sector and what they approved in offices. So people had to have this seemingly sleek look. And the ladies in Abuja also wanted to have that sleek look. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was about what I wanted at first. What I wanted for myself. I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to grow my natural hair. I knew I wanted it to be tended to. And I didn't find a place that was giving me what I felt that I deserved. So when I started giving it to myself, I think I've given this testimony before, when I started making my own hair and tending to my own hair and found that it was actually thriving, I realized that people would want this. I don't care if it's just 4 people. That was why I wanted a small space, because I didn't want to care if it would just be a handful of people, but I wanted to give what I had. And then the famous Apeh Harrison had to come that live on me, and I was afraid. The dream now that I felt I could just get away with just doing anything, and tending to small number of people, now I had to be pushed to now sell my dream, to make people believe in what I believed in. So the good part is that you advised me that don't shut people who are not natural out of your door.
Yeah. Create a balance around it.
That balance was very important, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have had the clientele that first walked in, because most of them walked in relaxed. And we didn't judge them. The mindset I started the business with was with judgment. Like, why are you relaxed? Why are you doing this? But with that counsel I received from someone who was in business for a longer period of time and knew the demographic, knew, you understand how you attend to things like this, I took that counsel and I imputed it into my belief. And people that walked in relaxed, many of them walked in relaxed. Even my stylist walked in relaxed. Yeah. And all of them now advocating for natural hair. So I guess, first of all, is the belief in what you have. If Mark Zuckerberg didn't believe that this is a possibility, if the person that created Uber didn't believe that this was a possibility, there will always be someone who will talk it down. As much as there will be someone who might believe in your dream, there will be somebody who would not believe in it. So what really counts for me is that, do you believe it's possible?
I think the profound thing you said at the beginning that I latched onto is that you saw a window. And I think that that's very critical to analyze when you talk about ideas. I know that as we begin to establish the correlation between good ideas that begin as bad ideas, many will be asking, so exactly what forms a good idea?
Yes.
How do we really identify a good idea, even when it begins by looking like a bad idea? And one of the things to identify in what can become a great idea is that it responds to a window. Or in other words, in the business sense, it responds to a gap.
A need.
A good idea usually will respond, is a feedback to a gap. Many times, the gaps that a good idea responds to is a gap that many people do not even realize they have. I may have a need for a GSM phone when landlines were prevalent, but it never occurred to me that a phone that I can take to the bathroom and in my car and in the airport wasn't really a gap to me, because somehow I thought that the need for telecommunication was well met by a landline. You see that now? So many times when a person comes up with an idea that fills a gap, the recipient and the users of that idea may not even realize that they had the gap.
True.
So the first indicator of a good idea is an idea that is in response to a gap. A gap that the idea mother has seen. and believes in, like you rightly said. So you must see the gap. You must believe that the gap can be filled, and then you respond to the gap. So when you have an idea that doesn't meet any gap, it's a challenge. You can't just have an idea for the sake of ideas.
True.
Because you want to keep busy, because everyone is doing something. So what gap is your idea attending to? And you said something very important. You spoke about the people that had to come in with a relaxed hair and transition to natural hair.
So I'm so proud of you. You remember the word transition.
Yes.
Transitioning to natural hair.
You know, so those people who came in probably didn't think they had to transition.
True.
But somehow, when they came into your space, they saw the need to transition. So you can fill a gap, but you may not be solving a problem for your users.
This is true.
You may fill a gap. So when you fill a gap that you have tried to fill can create problems for the users. Those who are selling cocaine are trying to fill a gap. Just you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
just
wow,
that they are creating more problems than they are
from
solving.
The gap that they are trying to fill.
Yes. You know, so there are other things you can do to, shake away all your problems. Cocaine is one of them. Just that when you apply cocaine as a solution, it creates more problems than you are trying to solve. Right? So even though it's covering a gap, it's creating the problem. So a good idea will fill a gap, and a good idea will solve a problem for the user. And number 3, if I hear you correctly as well, a good idea should also benefit the mother of the idea. Because however passionate you want to be, and you create ideas that benefit everybody else but you, eventually you may lose the fuel, the momentum to keep pursuing that idea.
It's true.
There must be something that your idea does to you that keeps refining your belief system.
Yes.
Right now, Jasmine Harrison is profitable. Jasmine Harrison has even doubled in size in the past 4 or 5 years. But there's something beyond profitability that has kept you on. So there's a benefit. There's a sense of value. There's a sense of more.
Reward.
There's a sense of reward that you are feeding off your idea. If all that your idea provides for you is a solution that it gives to the users and the gap that it fills, but does not feed any reward back to you, you probably will be committed to it. And many times we are stuck in ideas that has no reward feedback on us. And the reward feedback on us, you will shortchange yourself if the only reward feedback that you get is monetary. It's monetary. And also, from your story, there is a projection. Now, natural hair is almost everywhere.
It is.
Everyone is doing it now. And you are now doing your products.
Yes.
Bud and bloom, right? So you've transitioned from just attending to hair services, you're now creating products. So there's a part of your idea that is futuristic, that is scalable. So good ideas are also ideas that are very futuristic, that has a space in years to come, and also has the ability to be scaled. Anything that we do that can't be scaled is not really a good idea.
Wow.
So whatever that we do that must qualify as a good idea must be scalable.
Can you explain scalability?
It's
in layman terms.
Yeah, so it's the scriptural term that we call replenish. It's able to reproduce itself.
In other ways.
In other forms. You see that now? Know that an idea begins as a thought. An idea is basically a thought. But it's a thought that has a spark. It's not a fire. So it's how you nurture the spark that can lead it growing into becoming a flame.
Wow.
Right? And that nurturing ability, An idea also is like a child. The child in its infant stage or in his or her infant stage can't do much for you.
True.
You do everything for that child. You nurture the child, you feed the child, you bathe the child, you clean the child, up until when the child grows up enough to nurture you. So anything that you have that you can nurture to grow in size, to scale up in size. You see, even a child has the potential to give birth to another child.
Yes, and give you a grandchild.
You see that now? That's scaling. So a good idea has the same ability as a child does. You nurture that idea in the infant stage, and it becomes a child that grows up. At some point, you carry the child. But you nurture that child long enough, the child can carry you.
True.
All right? And then the child will give birth to other children, and other children, and other children. Every good idea should be scalable. And you can't scale a business that can't live long enough into the future. So good ideas must have that life in it that makes it scalable. And the thing about most young people today is that they have ideas that must be enforced now. All right. And also the other era of ideas in our generation is that you want an idea that appeals to you. I like blue shirts, so all my shirts that I produce must be blue. Meanwhile, the shirts that are selling in the market now are mostly yellow. You see that now? So when you have the mindset that I must have an idea that can meet the need of the user, you probably do more yellow shirts than blue shirts. When you have sold enough yellow shirts and you're not comfortable, you cannot do the one you want to do in blue shirts. You know what I'm saying, right? So many times we squeeze ideas into our passion. We take the cone of our passion and we look for an idea that can force into
it.
Yes. And sometimes ideas are not meant to fit into your passion. If you get the right ideas, they will probably help you lift your passion. Let it stand on its own. It may even be something you don't like for now. But it's a good idea that looks bad now. Do it long enough, it will give you the power to carry your passion.
Wow.
But many times we want to get an idea that we squeeze into. So I've always wanted to have a fashion business that just does only blue shirts because my best color is blue. Maybe the real idea should be do yellow shirts that everybody is wearing long enough. Take the resources and create a peculiar blue shirt that now aligns with your passion. You see what I'm saying now? But many times the young people that we have today don't want to wait long enough. Yeah. When we began the hotel 2 years ago, I had designed our hotel about 10 years ago.
Yes.
You remember, right?
Yes.
We even had a name for it at the time. It wasn't meant to be called Battle Hall as it is called today. We had a name called Deluso. And that name, we had that name for almost 10 years. And the idea for the hotel has been there for about 10 years. But we had to wait for the right time. The idea for Jasmine Harrison began when you were out of the country. And you came back to Nigeria and you waited for
had to get trained.
Yes. Like any street artisan in hair and nails, and you waited till the right time came before you began
taking the plunge.
The idea. And then now everybody wants to do what looks like your good idea. And they don't understand the journey between when it seemed like a bad idea till now that it has become a good idea. All right? So I want you to probably tell us a little bit about how you are transitioning from services to products and what it takes to keep that momentum in transitioning from services to product. And then now you are doing podcasts.
Get me started on that one.
Right? That is also giving attention to the scaling concept. You are scaling your brand, right? You are now becoming a voice in the hair industry. So you began with being just a consultant, attending to hair, then you're not producing products that can be used in response to your consultation. And then now, you are now doing a podcast talking to people about realities of their hair journey.
Yes.
So how did you keep that pace?
How did I keep that pace? I think with each dream or each good idea, it gets to a point in that good idea where you're losing steam, because sometimes it's not your passion, as you said, so you have to. And then with what the country might throw at you, what the economy might throw at you, what weather, what geographical situations might throw at you, somehow you just either decide for the business or the idea to die or to transition. So it's being stuck in between those two decisions that I now usually would have to take the higher road. So the product was born out of, the same questions of, Jasmine, what are you using in this salon? Jasmine, what have you been using on our hair? A lot of times clients ask, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this? And it's going to take a lot from me to do that. But I realize that if I keep procrastinating, if I keep pushing it away, one day I would become obsolete, or I would not be as relevant anymore. And my desire is to remain relevant. As much as I want to be humble, I want to continue to be relevant to my clients, to future clients, to people in the society. I want to be relevant. I want to be relevant in my family. That's the reason why I still take my kids to bed, because I'm afraid of losing relevance. So in that case, I decided, okay, these products that we use on their hair every day, I use on my hair, I use on my daughter's hair, and it's working. Let me just take another step and put my feet down and learn this thing really, and put it in a scalable form. Because it's one thing to make DIYs in your house. It's a different thing for it to stay on the shelf for longer than 6 months.
I agree.
And you knew when I was going through all that emotion, going through trainings, paying people large amounts of money, I'll come and talk to you about it and you'll be like, if it's something that needs to be done, babe, do it.
Yeah.
And I had to start learning, and then I hit the breakthrough and started producing. Producing products now has opened a different market, because now you're more of a voice. You're not just an attendant. Yes, I've always consulted for people. They know I know hair. But now that you're producing something that they see actually works, they now know that it's gone beyond the theory. It's now in the science. So she understands the science of hair. So you're respected more and you have more relevance. After then, we, slowly drifted into the producing world, and we're still trying to navigate around that. And then a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, spoke to me about this podcast. I know you spoke to me about it years ago, but you now, you're always pushing me.
I literally begged you about the podcast.
You're always pushing me.
I begged you to please.
Sometimes when he talks like that, I just build a wall. Because but when she sat down with me, and I was feeling the probing of God before then, about something, and you kept on saying, there's something else. Babe, there's something else. Open up your mind, open up your spirit to what is next. There has to be something next. And then she came to my office, and she's not somebody that would probe. And she told me this, and I could virtually see goosebumps on her body while she was talking about it. So she was really passionate about it. And I was like, okay, God has given me the wherewithal to be able to go into this thing. So let's try it and see. And from the first episodes, the testimonies we've gotten of people who virtually changed their minds completely from making bad decisions on their hair or thinking negatively about their hair has been so rewarding. And I know that we've not even caught half of it. It's a lot. It's straining. I think I talked to you about it even just this morning or so, on how much of a strain it is, because it's not in my passion.
Yeah.
It's not in my passion. Sitting down and talking to people is not within my passion. It's not within my comfort zone. It's not something I would do just easily. But I have decided, as you said, to allow it carry my dream, to carry my passion.
Yeah.
Because my passion is hair. My passion is just to tend to people.
Yeah.
But now it's carrying it. It's carrying the message of what I believe in, of what I preach. And I think it's really rewarding. So that's just, it's not been like a smooth sailing, like you're just going and, it has to be conscious decisions being made, conscious probing, people that believe in you, pushing you, and that's what it has been for me.
So good ideas also gives birth to difficult situations.
Yes. Yes.
I think people need to understand that. Good ideas usually gives birth to very difficult situations. And that's why very few good ideas are still living. Because if good ideas only provided good situations, everyone else will embrace good ideas. Good ideas many times will provoke very difficult situations, and then it looks like it's a bad idea. And the difficulty in processing a good idea may be what qualifies it as a good idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we begin a good idea. When we began Little House, for example, in Abuja, after a year or two, it failed.
Yes.
It failed.
Yes.
But we knew it was a good idea.
Yes.
And the idea had been in waiting for over 5 years.
Yes.
When we engaged it in Abuja, after a few years, it failed. After the lockdown happened in 2020, when the lockdown was reopened, it wasn't the same anymore for our restaurant here in Abuja. So we went on and took the step of faith and bought a building in Makurdi and did another restaurant there. And then the restaurant in Makurdi that was supposed to be in a civil servant state was doing 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the profit of what we're doing in Abuja. Right? So many times people are discouraged by difficult situations that follows good ideas. And young people also don't realize that you don't need to change your location to embrace a good idea. That you are on a job does not mean that you don't qualify to have ideas.
Yes. Yes.
You can be on a job and still have ideas. Nurture the ideas. Because you can nurture an idea for 5 years before you execute the idea.
This is true.
You can nurture an idea for even 10 years like we did for the hotel before you execute the idea. Now, when we began the hotel that we have now in Makurdi, it seems like, we got several things right by God's grace, but it's from the nurturing.
Years of processing.
Yes, the hotel wasn't in response to availability of funds. It's that idea had been nurtured, and in my visits to Makurdi for many things, when I go to other hotels, I'm looking for the gaps.
Yes.
What are the things that I don't like about this hotel? What are the things that could have been done better with this hotel? And we took those few thoughts and nurtured our own ideas. So when we executed our idea, it seemed like we were higher. But that height came from prolonged nurturing.
Yes.
Without execution. Many times we are too quick to execute before we nurture. I think there's a reason why God allowed a baby to remain in the womb for 9 months before the child comes out.
Yes.
There's a reason why a child can't come out 4 months after conception. Why take the mother through all the drama for 9 months when we know she has already conceived? Just get the baby out in 2 months or 3 months. Why wait for 9 months? Because there is a nurturing that the child that began as a seed in a cell needs to go through in the womb before that child qualifies to come out into the world. But many of us, we conceive dreams and we can't wait for it 9 months before we birth it. Many times we have a lot of premature ideas, very great ideas, fantastic ideas, but we pull them out
before
by the 6th
time.
month. It was not the due time. The EDD had not come.
Wow.
All right? Because every idea has an EDD, an expected date of delivery.
The scientist calls it the gestation period.
Yes. And you know there are things that an expecting mother must do to
ensure,
nurture the unborn child.
Yes.
So you don't wait till the child is born before you begin to nurture. There's a nurturing that takes place. They say, don't take these things anymore. Don't drink this anymore. Don't do that anymore. It's all part of nurturing what you have conceived.
Even to the physical part of buying clothes, nesting, making sure everywhere is clean, baby proofing.
Yes. All of that is part of the nurturing,
process,
the process. And many of us don't want to give into that process. And sometimes you may need to be in a system that isn't working because it's in that failing system that your idea will be born. Sometimes you're in a failing system because God is about to give you an idea that will fix what is failing in that system. And then we run out of a system that is failing because it's failing. Meanwhile, the seed that is meant to unlock the solution to that failing or that failure is in you. And you may need to be in that system for 5 years. Learn the system enough. Learn what works and what is failing. And then allow God to birth and conceive an idea in you and nurture that idea long enough. Sometimes the expression of that idea may even be in that system. It may be that you are working in a company and your idea will shift that company from a 10 million naira range to a 500 million range. And then they will promote you in a way that you become a millionaire overnight. You will never need to even own your own company. You just remain in this. There are billionaires in Dangote Group.
Yes.
There are billionaires in Microsoft.
Yes.
There are billionaires in Uber.
But they're still there.
But they're not the CEO. Right? Many of them have made such huge, tremendous success in their lives because within a system, they give birth to ideas that have sustained the system. Even in a failing system. You are in a government that is failing. Don't leave the government. In that same failing system, in that government system, you may be given an idea that if you stay long enough and nurture it long enough, can bring forth the solution to the failing government that you want to run away from. Some people are in politics and they say that everybody in politics is corrupt. I want to leave politics, I want to go into business. Meanwhile, if you wait in politics long enough, an idea might be conceived in you that will be the solution to the politics that you're already in. It may take 5 years, it may even take 10 years. But sometimes the beauty of ideas is that once the mother goes to the labor and conceives and births that child, she almost forgets the pain of the labor. Instantly. All right? And then when you now begin to go to the graduation party of the children, you don't have the memory of the pregnancy. You can't remember what it felt like to carry that baby in your womb for 9 months.
Yes.
So sometimes we don't understand the power of the reward system that comes in a very short time, that wipes away all the 10 years of processing that it takes to arrive at a life-changing ideas. Or changing idea, I beg your pardon. Many of the global ideas we see today. I watched a video recently, maybe not so recent, of someone saying that he was approached to invest in Uber and he turned it down. And the money required at the time was very small. But now he regrets turning down that opportunity. Because at the time, even to him, who is, a great businessman, the Uber concept seemed like a very, very bad idea. So imagine how many no's, how many ridicule, how many turn downs the Uber CEO had to go through. For how long? Right? The insults, the analysis of how stupid this idea was. But he kept on going.
Yes.
He kept on pushing, right? But now, bam, everybody wants to do, an Uber concept transportation system. You see that now? So many times we need to be patient with the ideas that we have. They always begin as a thought, as a seed. But if we wait long enough, we can nurture it into something that can carry us. But in our generation, I worry for a lot of young people because there are so many ideas that are coming out now that will take jobs away from our young people. And many of them are still dreaming in the sky. They don't want to wake up to reality yet and begin to give birth to ideas. It may look very bad, but it's practical. You want to clean a sewage system, clean people's sock away. It looks like it's a nasty job, but you can become a formidable force from that bad idea. Because many of the good ideas of our time will usually begin as very bad ideas. And you need to probe it with the point we've raised here today to know whether truly does it have the innate nature
to become a good idea.
To become a great idea and a good idea. So I think that our time is up. Is there anything you want to say?
No.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode with Jasmine Harrison.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So we look forward to seeing you on the next one. God bless you.